Hello and welcome to Inside Iraq. I'm Jassim Azzawi. In 1975, negotiations between the central government of Baghdad and the Kurds reached a stalemate over the disputed oil-rich province of Kirkuk. More than 3 decades later, history is repeating itself. And just like the last time, the potential for military confrontation this time is also real, and the consequences for all parties may be devastating. Right in the heart of this complex political dilemma is UN Special Envoy to Iraq, Steffan De Mistura. Will he succeed in averting a second explosion over Kirkuk? Will the antagonists trust him and accept his formula to resolve the standoff? Or will they once again resort to arms to settle their differences?
Kirkuk, the oil-rich province in northern Iraq, disputed over by Iraq's Kurdish, Turkoman and Arab communities. This city has been a major political obstacle to the holding of Iraq's provincial elections. The United Nations says these elections, to choose leaders for Iraq's electoral areas, are important to consolidate the country's political process and reconcile its ethnic and sectarian factions. But there are fears that any elections held in Kirkuk would likely exacerbate existing ethnic and sectarian tensions. For almost a year, Iraqi political factions have been deadlocked over the proposals for election law, which some fear will effectively hand certain Sunni and Shia groups a bigger say in the provinces. The Kurds boycotted parliament to protest the proposed election law, which they believe would weaken their control of Kirkuk and other Kurdish-dominated regions. The US and United Nations have raised concerns that any delay in holding the elections could risk an increase in tension and violence. In recent weeks, political factions were hard-pressed to come to an agreement as the original date of the provincial elections, scheduled in October this year, drew closer. Finally, under intense US and UN pressure, the Iraqi Parliament, including its Kurdish MPs, this week approved the electoral law, paving the way for the elections to be held by January 31st next year. The breakthrough came about after lawmakers decided to postpone any decision on how to resolve a power-sharing dispute over Kirkuk. Some will see this as fudging the thorny issue of Kirkuk. For others, this is a workable compromise that they hope will have a positive, stabilising effect on the country.
And I'm delighted now to welcome UN Special Envoy to Iraq, Steffan De Mistura. Welcome to Inside Iraq. Mr. De Mistura, let us go to the very heart of this problem right now facing the Iraqis, and that is Kirkuk. Back in 1975, Kirkuk was a big problem for the Iraqi government and ended in military confrontation. How do you look at Kirkuk right now? Where are all the positions? And does it lend itself to a political settlement, or are we, once again, we are going to see military confrontation again?
First of all, let's be very clear. We are in a totally different environment. We are in an environment where there is a government, where the Kurds are part of the government. The president of the Republic of Iraq is a Kurd. And when, in fact, Kirkuk is part and recognized by the Kurds and by the Arabs as part of Iraq. So we are in a totally different environment than we had in the past. That's point one. Point number two, the truth is that we are also looking at Kirkuk as a possible formula for actually a political solution to this type of tensions. Having said that, the tensions are there. And they are the accumulation of years and years of a feeling on the side of the Kurds that injustices were taken on them, and on the side of the Arabs, that Kirkuk is also an Arab city and not only seen from the Kurdish side as a Kurdish city. In other words, Kirkuk is, as many people have said, is basically a mosaicus, is a X-ray of all Iraq, and it should be looked at that. And in fact, if we find a good political solution, could be a good example.
While it lends itself to becoming a model for resolution of political problems in Iraq, at the same time, like you mentioned, tension is mounting, threats are abounding from all different sides. The Kurds, they want Kirkuk as the capital of future Kurdistan. The president of KRG is on record. If we cannot get it by constitution, we will take it by force. On the other side, you have the Arabs and the Turkmen. They keep saying on our dead body. So it looks like you are in a very tough position. Can you reconcile both sides?
Well, the UN is trained for being in tough positions, otherwise we would not be there, and it would be something could be solved directly. We are, I think, equipped to help on this. We have experience, and we have, frankly, objectivity and neutrality, in spite of the tension that sometimes on one side or the other are being perceived. We have a lot of experience in similar, nothing is like Kirkuk, but similar environments, point one. Point two, I must say that it's true that there is a lot of tension, but all this is at this stage, and we must continue maintaining that at the political level, at the verbal level, at the electoral level, but not more than that. And we are working actively in order to make sure that there is a political process. Let me give you one example. The referendum in December, which was threatened to take place on the 31st of December last year, did not take place because we came up with a proposal about a political formula. Same thing in June this year. No referendum, but political process. So that gives me hope in that direction.
Perhaps that's indicative also of fear. If the referendum went ahead at the expense of others, people, they might have resorted to arms. Perhaps that's the reason for the postponement. And now the potential is the referendum is not going to happen until 31st of December 2009.
Well, I would not put dates for a referendum, frankly. If we do find, as we hope, at least a roadmap for a political formula for how to address Kirkuk and perhaps other disputed environment territories, not only in the north but also in other parts of Iraq, then a referendum may only be useful as a confirmatory referendum at a later stage. So that's point one. The second is on the type of tensions. We are detecting tensions, it's true, but they are still very contained and they are more on the political level, and we have to continue on that line.
Is the power sharing formula of 3 equal portions between the Arabs, the Kurds and Turkmen is dead?
No formula is dead at this moment. Everything is on the table, and that's the good news. We are looking at various possible options in order to make sure that all communities do have a saying, and all communities have their own capacity of influencing the future. By the way, the issue is bottom line this one, whether any community should not be considered a total minority and should have a possibility of having a say in the management of a place which belongs to everyone.
Mr. De Mistura, there is a reality in Kirkuk, and that is, whether we like it or not, whether the Arabs and the Turkmen, they like it or not, the Kurds are on top. They are in possession of the political reins as well as the military boots are on the ground, and hence they are dictating what is going on the ground.
We are aware of the fact that at the moment there are a lot of facts on the ground which are taking place. But the proof is that the Kurds themselves are asking for clarity, institutional clarity, about their own, about the status about these territories around Kirkuk and in Kirkuk, which shows that they too need and cannot be simply satisfied with facts on the ground, but need also international and national legitimacy for whatever formula will be found. That means that if there is a formula, it will have to be a formula which has a political involvement, engagement by everyone. Otherwise, believe me, any referendum will be considered an hostile referendum. An hostile referendum means that it will be like water. The day after, there will be tensions. The day after, there will be question about its validity. Only formula is a political formula for the future. And the time is going to help us on this. That's why it was good that it was nothing happening in December. And it's good that we are being given more time to find a formula.
Time is good for many people and many directions. At the same time, it might work against others. For instance, the Iraqi government would like to postpone this. They believe as the central government gets stronger and it can spread its writ over the entire country, it will be able to talk to the Kurds and the KRG for perhaps with a different language. On the other hand, the Kurds, they believe Baghdad right now is weak, but a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, when it becomes really strong and stronger than what it is now, they might not get what they are asking for now.
All these considerations are possibly taking place, but there is one overriding consideration, and you have to come with me in Iraq these days and you will see it. Everybody needs everybody. In that sense, there is no way back. In other words, the central government needs the Kurds to be part of the Iraqi overall national interest. The Kurds need the central government because the oil that we are talking about, for instance, is huge, as you know, huge quantities, and will be shared and is being shared nationally among the different components, and they are benefiting from it. They all need stability. This is the time for the Iraqi people to have stability and not fighting about one city or another, but actually fighting for the future. They've had, wallahi, too much already suffering.
Mr. De Mistura, before I take a break, let me ask this question, a quick answer if you don't mind. The elections have been postponed for a while. What would a further postponement do? What would December 2009 or even beyond will do? If the two interlocutors, if the two opponents don't see a common ground, how would time serve to heal the wounds?
Elections, the provincial elections are needed and they are required by the people of Iraq. The reason for not taking place is basically because they are discussing about one or two words, which are important, but one or two words. If we give them a little bit more time, we may find a third word instead of those two words. I'm not going into details. One thing I know, that the Iraqi people want elections, and if elections don't take place, that would be a blow to democracy.
Mr. De Mistura, thank you very much. We'll take a short break now. Stay with us. Don't go away.
We don't feel the election law should be held hostage to the issue of Kirkuk. Mirembe Nantongo, U.S. Embassy spokeswoman in Baghdad.